Good afternoon, class. Welcome back. So previously we have learned a few different things. We talked about complete sentences, how they're kind of structured, and how we make those complete sentences. And we most recently have learned about nouns. So can anyone tell me what a noun is? Yes, very good. A noun is a person, place, or a thing. And remember, we learned about those common nouns and those proper nouns. So today we're going to be learning about verbs. So before we begin, we're going to watch this quick YouTube video. And it is a Jack Hartman video. So I encourage you all to get up and dance around and have fun with it, but make sure you listen to what Jack Hartman says the verbs are and those examples that he gives in his video. So.
Action verbs, you see them when you read. Action verbs, you use them when you write. Action verbs are so cool. Action verbs make me wanna move. Gallop, gallop is the word. Gallop, gallop is an action verb. Fly, fly is the word. Fly, fly is an action verb. Stomp, stomp is the word. Stomp, stomp is an action verb. Swim, swim is the word. Swim, swim is an action verb. Action verbs, you see them when you read. Action verbs, you use them when you write. Action verbs are so cool. Action verbs make me wanna move. Pump, pump is the word. Pump, pump is an action verb. Jump, jump is the word. Jump, jump is an action verb. Crisscross, crisscross is the word. Crisscross, crisscross is an action verb. Spin, spin is the word. Spin, spin is an action verb. Action verbs are called dynamic verbs. In a sentence, they're always the coolest word. They make something happen. They make something move. They tell what someone or something did or can do. Action verbs, you see them when you read. Action verbs, you use them when you write. Action verbs are so cool. Action verbs make me wanna move.
Okay,
Let's be friends.
so go back to the PowerPoint. So keep in mind those action verbs that Jack Hartman said in his video, because we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But first, we are going to learn what a verb is. So a verb is a word that is used to describe actions or states of being. So remember when we talked about making those complete sentences, a verb is a main part of speech that is often used to describe these actions. So this is what we include in sentences to make them complete, like we have previously talked about. So like Jack Hartman said in his video, action verbs, you see them when you read. Action verbs, you see them when you write. So you see verbs everywhere. They're always going to be in sentences because that makes those sentences complete. So example, the verb run describes an action that someone takes. So they are running. The verb believe describes a state of being. That means you are believing in something. So that's your state of being. So think back to that Jack Hartman video and give me some examples of verbs that he had said in his video. Yes, one was gallop. Give me two more. Pump, yes, and stomp. Very good. Those are all action verbs, and those are all action because that means you are actually doing them. So here's some examples of all the verbs that he had said. He said gallop, stomp, fly, swim, pump, jump, spin, and crisscross. So these are all action verbs because you always have to, you're acting these out. Okay? Okay, so we're going to do a couple of examples before we go into our work. So our first example is, Mom, can I run to the park? So I'm going to read it one more time. Mom, can I run to the park? So the action verb in this sentence is run, because that's an actual action. You're running. All right, now the next one. I jumped over the puddle. So what's the verb in the sentence? Yes, jumped. That is the action verb. Very good. All right, last sentence. You swim fast in the race. So what is the action verb in this? Yes, swam. That is an action verb because you are swimming. You're actually acting something out. Okay, so now we're going to dive into group work. You're going to work with your tables that you are already at to complete this. So what we're going to do is y'all are going to complete a activity. So you're going to work together to finish this assignment. So what this assignment is, I'm going to hand it out, and then you're going to write your names on it, and then we're going to talk about it. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to work together to produce a real or fake scenario about something that happened at recess. It can be real or fake, just something that happens at recess. You all need to work together to produce this. So that's the main key, work together, like what we talked about before, the teamwork. You will each write the scenario on your worksheet that I gave you, and you must include verbs in your sentences. So when you finish that, after, we are going to get up and each group is going to act out their scenario in the class. So you all need to make sure that you're paying attention to the verbs that your classmates use in your scenarios, because we are going to list those after they get done. So just looking at the worksheet. All right, this is what your worksheet looks like. It's ready for action, and then over here it says, write a story about what you did at recess. Use action verbs to make your writing pop. So over here, you see those lines. That's where you're going to write. It doesn't have to fill up all the way. Just make sure you have enough sentences in there and verbs to make your story really stand out. And then at the bottom, it says, what action verbs did you use? So I want you to actually go in and circle those action verbs. So when we're all done, we're going to get up and we're each going to present our scenarios, and then we're going to talk about them when we are finished. So before you get started, I'm going to give you a scenario example of something that happened at recess. So I put, the other day when it was time for recess, we ran outside to go play. When we got outside, my friends and I walked over to the basketball court. We started out throwing the basketball to each other and then played a game. We all ran around the court when someone accidentally fell. So that was the scenario I came up with. Y'all can use some of the verbs I put in my scenario into your scenario if it helps you kind of get that story come together. But as we can see, we have different verbs in my scenario. So can someone give me one? Yes, throwing. That's an action verb because you're actually throwing something. Give me one more. Yes, walked. So walking, that is also an action verb. Very good. All right, so take a couple minutes and get this completed, and then we're going to act out the scenarios. All right, now that all of our scenarios are acted out, we are now going to move on to the next thing. Y'all did very well with that. Y'all included some verbs that I didn't even think of to include, so very good. I'm very pleased. So next, we're going to run into our independent time. So this is called jobs, in action. So I'm each going to give you this packet, and this is the front of it. So I'm just going to hand it to you, and then you write your names on it, and then we're going to talk about it. Okay. Now, if you notice the first 5 pages, you don't actually have to do anything to it. These first 5 pages is going to help you fill out the remaining 4 pages that you have to do. So on these 5 pages, we see 5 different people, 1 on each page, and we see 4 words around it. And then up here, it says, I am a doctor, . So each of the people on the pages has a different job. Their occupation is different. So it says, I'm a doctor. I listen, examine, measure, and prescribe. So these are all verbs that describe his job. Just like on the next page, we see a woman. I am a florist. I water, select, cut, and arrange. So those describe the job of a florist. And then we have, I am a baker. I preheat, mix, pour, bake. I am an artist. I prepare, mix, apply, create. And then last one, I am a waitress. I greet, take, serve, and wait. So on all of these pages, we are given examples of different jobs and occupations, and it gives us verbs that describe that job. So what you're going to do on the next 3 pages, you're going to do that. So it gives you on each page 2 people, and they each have different jobs. So on this one, it says, I am a barber. So you're going to fill out those. I'm a dentist. And then you're going to fill out the verbs on that. And then it has carpenter, teacher, a veterinarian, a businesswoman. So you're just going to fill out those verbs that describes that job occupation. Now, I am going to put on the board the job description of each person with an explanation so you kind of know what it is. I encourage you to go access the dictionaries in the room to come up with some words. We have computers in here so you can kind of look up some words if you're confused, but always ask me, and you can even ask someone around you for help if you're confused on something. But the last page, what I want you to do is you're going to draw and color a picture of yourself here in the middle. So then you're going to write what you want to be when you grow up. And then you're going to use these boxes to put verbs to describe the job that you want. So again, you're going to draw a picture of yourself, put what you want to be, and then put 4 verbs that describes your what you want to be. So you can take one of these up here if you want to be a businesswoman, an artist, a baker, a florist, doctor, any of that, or even down here, any of these examples. So just take the remaining time of class to finish this, and then we will come for a quick review. All right, so today we learned about verbs. So can someone tell me what the function of a verb is? Yes, a verb is a word that is used to describe actions or state of being. So we use many verbs today in our lesson. So can someone give me an example of a verb that we use today? Yes, gallop, like in the Jack Hartman video. Very good. Give me one more. Yes, walked. We use those in our scenarios that we did, and then we even saw some more verbs in our jobs and action sheet. So next class, we're going to come together and we're going to talk about irregular verbs. So that is all. So I wanted to explain. So for the jobs in action, what I would do for accommodation of this is for this part, they're all going to be able to use like resources around the room, like the dictionary, computers, peers, myself, anything. And then I'm going to have, the description of each job with what it is and like a quick explanation. But for some students, instead of filling out 4 of the boxes, they can fill out at least 2. I would encourage 3, but at least 2. So that would be kind of graded and look different for those students. And then same thing for here. They would have to fill out at least 2 instead of 4 for that. Yeah. And then for the ready for action, that's just something to get them up and be creative and actually do those scenarios in front of everyone, something neat. And then my accommodation for that was me producing and giving that scenario to them and them doing group work. So, yeah.